What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Lube Reviews, the destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. While some approach this subject with unquestioning belief, I'm here to encourage skepticism and rational explanation of the unknown. We'll dive deep into the claims, separating fact from fiction, and sift through the evidence to get to the truth. Our mission? To challenge conventional wisdom, to ask tough questions, and to shed light on the mysteries that continue to captivate our collective imagination. You guys, before we get started, like, share, subscribe. If you really love and support the show, check out our Patreon and YouTube memberships. There's great ways to financially support the show. Had a really fun day today. It's actually been like a fun month and a half. Man, if you guys, some of you guys, if any of you guys knew some of the meetings that I've been having, the auditions I've been getting have been crazy too. But the meetings I've been having have been insane. Soon I'll be able to share all of this stuff with you guys. But want to say hello to B Baker, HDID Tricky, Wise Monkey, Mama's Dope Boy, Swink McLeod, T Cause, Steve Long, Wise Monkey, Archangel Reese. You guys, thank you so damn much for being here. Truly appreciate it. Bobby Broadway, I see you. Also, Kurt, Renee Cruz, I saw your really sweet message in the comments the other day. I'm sorry I can't answer back to that exact one because I was driving, but yes, thank you for being here. You are a valuable part of the show. Pat Calabria, thanks for being here. Que paso, que paso. Okay. William Runner says, I'm from the same city as Chris Bledsoe. Most people don't even know or care about the guy around here, but those that do write him off as a loon or a con man. Well, that's actually a great segue into what we are going to be talking about today. So we embark on the captivating journey into the enigmatic story of Chris Bledsoe. Is he a contemporary prophet blessed with divine revelations? Could his purported healings be celestial orbs being genuine interventions from a higher power? These are all wonderful questions that we're going to try and answer today. This past weekend, he captivated, actually last night on Sunday night, he captivated an audience / congregation. Despite his claims and the attention from various media outlets and government, there's a puzzling question that persists. Where is mainstream science? Where have they been since 2008? And I learned today that Chris Bledsoe's first television appearance was in 2008. We're going to get into it. Chris Bledsoe is not someone that I normally would spend a lot of time or devote an entire episode to talking about, because in my opinion, Chris Bledsoe is a loon, a con man. At worst, he's a loon and a con man. At best, he is a genuine person who is, I think, manifesting a lot of these things either internally or going back to the other option. There are many signs to point that there are really great explanations as to what these orbs are. And a family RC hobby is at the top of my list. I've talked about that RC hobby before on this show. I've shown the photograph of Chris Bledsoe's garage, and we counted the planes inside of his garage, the RC planes. As a matter of fact, his table had a diagram of a plane on it that he was designing, an RC plane that he was designing. So having RC drones in his not only garage, but his kids' garages, you know, and he has, I think, 3 or 4 kids, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll again, we're gonna get into a lot of the surface level stuff of Chris Bledsoe. Because again, I normally don't spend time on someone like this because to me it's so obvious. Oopsie, started the music again. To me, it's so obvious that that this is not a none of this stuff is really happening. And I think that because of the people surrounding Chris Bledsoe, the Bledsoes as a whole, and the story as a whole. So the beautiful thing about this discussion last night is that it was saved. And it was actually transcribed as well with this really cool audio format. So the host of the show, this is, what part is this? This is part 1. Okay, perfect. The host of the show, Logan, put this in a software that transcribes the episodes. You can up the speed. You can see exactly what they're saying. There's a lot of really cool tools in this. So I appreciate that as a host, him putting up the transcript. There were no getting tough questions into this discussion. This discussion, it seemed very much like it had a preface of nobody that is going to harm your ego is coming up here to ask you a question or get in your face. So don't worry about it, Chris Bledsoe. This is an absolute safe space. Chris Bledsoe doesn't have a Twitter. They had to phone him in, put the Twitter space on a speakerphone so he can hear it on a speakerphone on a telephone and then interact with the room that way, because I think he had a Twitter account once and he immediately shut it off because of all of the hatred that he was getting from I can't remember what he called it. Essentially military intelligence, paid dissenters. And so he shut down his Twitter account, but he was convinced by Science Bob. And if you guys are familiar with the channel, you could go see a little sparring debate that I had with Science Bob in regards to Kirkpatrick and how unscientific he approaches the UFO discussion in particular. I'm not claiming he's unscientific in other places, other expertises that he's really familiar with. But when it comes to UFOs, when it comes to UFO lore, when it comes to UFO abductions, when it comes to UFO related things, phenomena like the hitchhiker effect, Science Bob McGuire believes all of it. As a matter of fact, he has a girlfriend who gets abducted actively as we speak. And so, and there's no, like, he has a bias, and that's putting it very, very kindly. Very kindly. But with that said, Bob set up this discussion with Chris Bledsoe because obviously with all that said, Bob McGuire is one of the best connected ufologists in the whole game, because Bob doesn't actually apply any science to the questions he asks or the experiments that he purports to do around this phenomenon, the people that he talks to and chats with. So yeah, I mean, like, take everything you ever hear with Bob McGuire with a grain of salt, because yeah, it's usually not science. But again, he's well connected. He does tend to get interviews like this because the people that he does bring up to speak. He's a big Rick Doty fan. He's a big, Chris Bledsoe fan. He's a big, Bob Lazar fan. Like, there's no famous UFO story that Science Bob does not believe. And what's funny is in this conversation, he said that the hitchhiker is 100% real. But yet in my debate, actually, I should fucking clip that because I literally just thought of this. In this discussion, he says that the hitchhiker effect is 100% real. And then in our discussion, our debate that I posted up as a video on my channel, he says that he's not 100% sure on the hitchhiker. In other words, he doesn't believe it 100%, but he knows people who have gone through it. But it hasn't happened to him. But in a different discussion, depending on, this is what I've been saying forever. The point of this is that they will change what they're saying depending on who's in that room. And if there's nobody there to challenge any aspect of the story, they can say whatever the fuck they want. And it doesn't matter because people aren't going to fact check them. Well, thanks to this, you can kind of fact check them on a lot of these claims. And there's one really big claim that Chris Bledsoe makes in this. And again, like, I have a very low tolerance for bullshit these days. So the Chris Bledsoe interviews that are out there, I've listened to like 15, 20 minutes of them at most. And then I shut them off because I do not want to add any love to the algorithm that spreads that shit. I know I'm only one person. It doesn't really matter. It's got 1 million views anyway, right? Like me protesting it, but it's like I don't have a tolerance for it anymore. In addition to me just being like, no, fuck this. I don't want to add to this. Like I don't need to hear any information from this man because nothing that's coming out of his mouth is reliable, testable, verifiable. It's just a bunch of BS. And I think I found some really good ways to, especially on this one claim, figure out if he's telling the truth or not. So there definitely will be a follow-up episode to this one. And of course, this stuff will start to make sense as soon as we go over some of this stuff. So this is the interview, and there are some interesting parts here that I'd like to go over. Let's see here.
Chris, and you can hear my voice.
So the cool thing is that, well, used to be, I don't want to type a comment here. Why is it all lit up like here? Let me just redo this here. Refresh it. All right, so there is, I've got the timestamps here for everyone. What's cool here is you could also auto scroll with this stuff here as well. So yeah, I timestamped some of these I made notes, some of these I didn't. So let's just listen to what he's got to say on this one. And again, like, I'm going to provide the link to this in the description of the video so you guys can find part 1 and part 2 once the show's over. I'll include these links in there. Again, this is a full stack Logan space. And yeah, but he's got this whole transcript and everything. And again, I'll put actually in the live chat the link to part 1. And then also to part 2. So if you guys want to go check this out and look up keywords, you can do that. That's what's cool about this as well, is like I could look up that moment where Science Bob says, oh yeah, the hitchhiker is 100% real, which is in part 2 somewhere. But let's play these clips in order because I think this is just interesting, and I guess I'll also play it in real time. So that way we could get the soothing southern drawl of good old Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
That was this year. We got 2 more episodes coming. We've already
I slowed it down. I didn't know you could slow it down. Okay, I understand the speeds now. Okay, so this should be normal speed, 1 time speed. Sorry about that, guys. We'll start it over. Here we go.
Yeah, that was wait till this year. We got 2 more episodes coming. We've already filmed them. And the series started this month, the 6th, I think. And I'm not sure when these episodes will air. I imagine one will be the last show of the year. That would probably be filmed in the Florida Everglades. The first one that comes out, maybe, I'm not sure, but it was filmed in the Monroe Institute. So this year we're going to kind of unveil that thing, and I can't say a whole lot about it. They'll probably hang me until it comes out. But last year, that all started because of my participation with the Monroes. They're studying. I read about it last.
Now, if you look up the Monroe Institute, it is a pseudoscience institute. There's no actual collegiate or academic validity to it whatsoever. This is something that was started in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 1940s or 50s. This is not something new. The psi abilities, the ability, like the test that you saw at the beginning of the original Ghostbusters, where he's holding up the cards and he's having people telepathically guess what shape is on the card. Like those are psi abilities. Tim Gallaudet's daughter has psi abilities. His wife apparently has some kind of psi abilities because she's interacted with these ghouls. So things like that. So he's referencing pseudoscience to make himself sound official. There's nothing official. There's nothing academic about the Monroe Institute whatsoever. Zero.
Chapter in my book, studying consciousness with them, and they brought out their scientists brought out these EEG caps that you wear, these newest kind out. They had these new technology in, and they couldn't get them to work. I kept messing with them with somehow my brain waves threw these things off. They could take them off of me, and I was still transmitting the signal to their computer screen, only on one side. So what they did is
so they took the sensors off, but yet he was still communicating with the things that were measuring his brain waves with the machines. It sounds like a movie.
History Channel thought it'd be good to take that experiment to the television.
The History Channel thought that'd be good to take the experiment to television. Not any academic university, but TV. Let's go to TV first. Sounds scientific. Sounds so real.
And they came here on a Monday. They stayed here for 7 days. We filmed for 6. The first night they were here, I think we filmed 35 orbs, all documented with UFO data. None of them anything known. The AI technology, ruled them all out as any terrestrial, anything.
Oh, the AI technology ruled them out as anything terrestrial, anything. Okay. We've seen how that AI technology has worked before. We did an episode about this AI technology that the History Channel implements, and again, relying on AI this early to determine what's in the sky. I mean, there are apps, there are astronomers, there are so many people that you could have there on the ground that could verify what or what may not be in the sky.
And so all week we had that. We were doing quantum entanglement experiments and, a couple hundred miles.
So that's the underlying theory here for Chris Bledsoe, is that he's accessing quantum entanglement. He's making claims that he can make UFOs show up not only in front of him, but anywhere. And in his case, he's been healed. His Crohn's disease and his rheumatoid arthritis were both healed by these orbs, according to him. We'll get to that here in a moment.
Away. And it's very successful at it. So last night, the producer said, we need to try something different. I don't know what else we could do. So to prove that it's not necessarily tied to your property, they're in search of the whole Skinwalker series is about a place, a ranch, a land, a haunted house, a haunted triangle, crossroads or something. But on my case, it's about a person. And so they took me to the Cape Fear River, 20 miles away, a different location than I'd have.
So basically, out of all the filming that they did in this series, they were there for 7 days, shot 6 days. They only spent the last day going off of Chris Bledsoe's property to film these orbs, to prove that what he was saying was true. You couldn't do that for 6 fucking days, or at least half of the production. Blind test him, because here's the thing, it's not like, I know how a production works. Okay, it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people talking, even if it's a last second idea. It's not difficult for somebody to send a text to a different family member at a different house with a few drones. Hey, be 20 miles away at this place and make sure you fly him here, because dad's calling him at 9:45. It's possible. It's a hell of a lot more possible and probable than aliens, him having the ability to call orbs. He doesn't call them aliens. He says it's quantum entanglement. But again, the claim is that he can summon these things anywhere. So you can be 2,000 miles away. He claims people 2,000 miles away that have seen orbs because he summoned them there at that exact moment. That's the claim. There's a lot of other claims here too. We're gonna get into them.
Ever been, and so they brought in Dr. James from New York, the neuroscientist. He's a PhD in neuroscience. And they were under a picnic area, illuminated with monitors and cameras pointing at that, monitoring my brain. So I was about 40, 50 yards away, sitting in the back corner of the field in a little beach chair, one that sits real low to the ground. Because it was so cold, they had a heater up over me, so they had to set me low to the ground, about a foot off the ground, one of those, hard chairs to get out of. So here I am looking up, 3 cameras pointing down, and I just gave thanks. I started silently. I don't do this out loud. So I just started thinking thanks to the phenomenon for allowing us to film literally hundreds of orbs all week. And I said to myself, let's change it up. If it would be their will, let's appear at ground level. And I was under the rules that if you see something, just point. You can't talk because you'll mess the brainwaves up. So just be real quiet.
Again, so this is all for a TV show. Like, this would be way more compelling if this was a team at Harvard or MIT or Stanford or the University of South Carolina or the University of Florida or San Diego State University. Any major university that has any ability to measure stuff like this. And I'm sure there are universities that could put forth a much better effort than the History Channel is. We've we've shown over and over and over and over and over again that the producers of History Channel shows that have any label with the word skinwalker in it do not come up with good scientific experiments, theories, hypotheses for the shows that they do, that they call scientific. And so I haven't seen this History Channel show. I think I've seen clips of it where he's wearing the cap and they're pointing and everybody's like, oh my God. But honestly, I have a hard time bringing myself to watching this shit and taking it seriously. Like, if this was a serious person with serious abilities, he wouldn't be rolled out on the History Channel. He just wouldn't be. But I digress.
Just point. Don't say anything. Don't move your face. Just try to be, just point. So here I am, with all these cameras pointing down at me. When this orb appeared up way up high, I could see it looking up. And they're all looking down at me. And this thing comes out of the sky all the way down to about 8 foot off the ground and stops. So I'm pointing in the woods, right? I'm pointing. And this orb is coming right up through the trees, right up by this little building, plain view, solid lit. And when I started pointing, the people on the monitors recognized my brain waves just changed suddenly and was showing communication with this thing. And the cameras, they were all looking up in the air. I had to finally shout and say, it's in the woods. And so they filmed it when it flew right on by us. It flew within 40, 50 feet of us and weaved its way through the trees and disappeared behind a big oak tree. But we did the first time in history ever completed a conscious scientific study on camera.
A scientific study for the History Channel. How's it a scientific study if you're doing it for the History Channel? Can someone explain that to me? I'm going to do something here real quick while we're playing the rest of this. There was a video that he released, or one of the Bledsoes released, of a real UFO, but I'll get that here for you guys in a second.
With communication with this other world, and we proved it. And a friend of mine, John Alexander, has made that known many times that this was a new record. So yeah, it was pretty cool. We did it again on this next episode, but in a much broader, bigger, crazy way. They got 6 more hours in the brain scan, so I'm interested to see what all comes out with that.
Well, Chris, let me ask one more question before I get out of the way.
That's it.
And I don't know whether you're allowed to speak about this or not. And if you are not allowed to speak about it, just tell me you can't talk about it. But it is my understanding that you were at one location and there were people, let's say, from the government at another location, and you requested at their request.
Here's what Bob loves to do with these prophets of profit. And this is why they agreed to do conversations that he is doing like this. He literally underhands softballs, but they're not softball, they're beach balls. He underhands beach balls from 10 feet away for these guys to wind up and hit home runs with. And like, again, let me ask you one more question, but before I get out of the way, which by the way, he never gets out of the way. I don't think, if you're allowed to speak about this or not. And if you're not allowed to speak about it, just tell me you can't talk about it. So he's prefacing all of this with, well, just, I know this is secret, but if you could share the secret, that'd be great. But it's my understanding that you were at one location and there were people, let's say, from the government at another location. Let's say, were they or they were not? Bob, so it's so spooky. And at your request, and you requested at their request, You requested that something show up in front of them, and that happened. Am I correct? This fucking question, dude. This question is so Science Bob. Like, this is Science Bob in a fucking nutshell right here.
And you requested at their request, you requested that something show up in front of them, and that happened. Am I correct? And are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, I've
Yep.
done it. As you know, I told you that I had that thing that was happening with me when you were here, what, in 2018 or so. And I first learned I could do this in 2016. And we tested it
Okay.
just 2 weeks ago.
He first learned that he could do this in 2016. That's weird. Because in 2008, you were... Yeah, let's see here. Where is it? UFOs over Earth. Was it this one? Yep, UFOs over Earth in 2008. 2008, you were talking about this on TV for the Discovery Channel. Chris Bledsoe Jr., self, key witness, 2008. The Fayetteville incident. So which one is it, pal? Did you start talking about this in 2016? I first learned he could do this in 2016, but he was having experiences in 2008 over here for the Discovery Channel. What a joke. What a joke, dude.
It 3 weeks ago. See, I was in DC.
Listen to this part.
Meeting there and then out to LA, but it was 3 weeks ago. I had 3 FBI agents up in Louisville, Kentucky, with their wives and a professor friend call me and ask me, could I make it happen for them?
Okay, like, who? What 3 FBI agents called you up in Louisville, Kentucky with their wives and a professor friend? Come on, man. Give me a break, dude.
The blue. And so I went out and told them where to look and what to think for. You know, you got to get your mind right.
Here's the thing.
And all of a sudden,
you got to get your mind right. And he shares his philosophy by what that means.
We started filming multiples, you know, the same exact objects here as we did 700 miles away. And then I started having these orbs appear ground level. Within 20 feet of me, they were flying by me. And so I told them to draw their attention to the forest, and they were appearing within 20 or 30 feet of them at the same time. So I would say we kind of shook them up a little bit.
I bet.
But we've done it in Houston. We've done it.
They've done it in Houston, Charlotte. Oh, man, they've done it all over the place except for in a science lab. So he's essentially taking that theoretical experiment where you had 2... What's well, there's the slit experiment, right? Where you've got particles going through one slit, but it's showing up all over the place as if multiple slits are open. And then you've got a particle existing in 2 places at once, across the world, right? Essentially teleporting, okay? Or suggesting that this is some kind of connection at a particle level. It's a subatomic particle level. And he's just taking that and icing it heavily with, he can only access this 0.0001%. He's the diamond in the rough. No one else can really do this but him. It's insane that people believe this shit. Like, and Andres, like, we've talked about this. I believe in things visiting our atmosphere and, you know, possibly extraterrestrial. But when it came to stuff like this, when it came to lizard people, when it came to abductions, when it came to, unwanted pregnancies or unwanted abortions, like from alien beings, all of that stuff, I always rolled my eyes and went, Jesus, how can anybody believe that? Especially with no evidence for it. There is circumstantial and eyewitness data points of eyewitness testimony, seeing things and seeing maneuvers and seeing just strange things in the sky. That's nothing new. But then to take the next step and say, oh, they're visiting you or they're healing your Crohn's, and Andres made a good point. Crohn's usually turns into an arthritis, debilitating arthritis. So it cured that. He's claiming he's being cured. Okay, well, if 3 doctors looked at you, where are they? Where are the medical records? Where are the team of doctors going? Oh, yeah, no, this guy had Crohn's. He had debilitating arthritis. I know because I prescribed him. Like, just wait until you hear how much money he was spending on medicines a month fighting this disease. This gets crazy.
Charlotte, we've done it in Louisville. I've done it many times in Washington, D.C., right up over Mount Weather, with scientists there with cameras set to the same f-stop as mine, the same exact timing. And we also record each experiment through WhatsApp live. So when I'm talking to
this is not science. This is not. So when I'm talking to the camera guy, that's who's helping run this fucking scientific experiment.
other camera guy, you can hear me talking on camera while he's talking. And within microseconds, split second, they're appearing here and there.
Okay. That's amazing, Chris. Next words out of his mouth, man. Okay, so this is the next thing. What did I write down here? Okay, so this is yeah, man, there was so much ass kissing of this guy in this space. It was kind of gross. But this was this is the story of when they came to him and when he was sick. So listen to this. This is wild.
Well, honestly, when it came almost 18 years ago, I was desperate.
So now it was 18 years ago it came to him. So he learned how to manipulate them in 2016, but they came to him 18 years ago. So that's 6. Yeah, it's 2006. And then he goes straight to TV in 2008. Amazing.
Sick. At the bottom is about as low as a person can get. And I was crying out to the heavens. I was past trying to figure out, any religion there. It was like, whoever's up there, I need help, crying out. And so these UFOs appeared, these big balls of fire. They won't fly in saucers.
Of course. So again, this is, and I hate to do this because I'm not a professional at all, but again, this is a common thread that I always find in stories like this. I was desperate. I was sick. I was at the bottom. I was as low as a person can get. And I was crying out to the heavens. And I passed trying to figure it out. Past any religion. I was like, whoever is up there. So that's something right there that I want to emphasize, that Chris Bledsoe is an insanely religious man. Okay. As a matter of fact, that's what it says on the back of his book cover here. And I'm going to read it for you guys. This is his book, UFO of God. that says the extraordinary true story of Chris Bledsoe. And it's got a quote from Jim Semivan, former CIA senior intelligence officer. So you know it's money, baby. So the back of the book says Chris Bledsoe, a deeply religious family man and successful business owner from North Carolina, was on the verge of the unthinkable after losing everything in the 2007 financial crisis. So first, now the timing's really off because it came to him 18 years ago, which is 2006. The financial I know because I was living in New York City in 2008 when the financial crisis really fucking hit. 2007, you could see signs of it, but there wasn't a financial crash like there was in 2008 when everything the bottom fell out on these mortgages. But 2007, there were signs of it. So maybe he did have some financial struggles, but he just said 18 years ago. So again, which one is it? So after losing everything in 2007, in the 2007 financial crisis, and suffering from a debilitating chronic disease, fishing alone or along the banks of the Cape Fear River, the Cape, of course. Dude, it's so just cinematic, man. Fishing along the banks of the Cape Fear River with 3 co-workers and his teenage son, he walks away from the group and cries out to God in a desperate plea for help. Suddenly, a UFO appears and saves his life and cures him of his illness. Now, he claims, God, we got to get the dates on this because he was claiming he showed up to a festival in 2020 in a wheelchair. Because of his debilitating Crohn's and arthritis. But yet this thing came in 2007 after he screamed to God for help, and it cures him of all his illnesses. Experiencing 4 hours of missing time, he returns to his group and finds them troubled. Terrified, they run for their lives as several UFOs chase them home. This is a true story of hope, love, lies, and deception involving NASA and the CIA, a string of professors, and the church. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, dude, this sounds like a Dan Brown novel. Are you what's the main character in Deception? Are you Langdon? Robert Langdon? Are you Robert Langdon? Chris Bledsoe? Did you love the Da Vinci Code or something? This reads just like a fucking Dan Brown novel. You are about to go on a spiritual journey of awakening with a visit from the lady, the Vatican. I guess remote viewing is something that can visit you now. Assassination plot of the Pope, dripping orbs, a burning tree, the Monroe Institute, and healing the son of a DC power broker with ties to the White House. Now it's not a Dan Brown novel because Dan Brown doesn't go that fucking hard. Not even Dan Brown can go that hard. Robert Langdon can do a lot of cool shit, but he doesn't heal DC power brokers with ties to Washington, D.C. Or ties to the White House, excuse me. 16 years on, the phenomenon still lives in the Bledsoe family and affects the lives of the people who come in contact with them. Some quotes. Quote, do not be surprised if you, the reader, become one of them. Strap in for a wild ride. Colonel John B. Alexander, Ph.D. Quote, reader beware. Reality is much more multidimensional and full of love than you've ever imagined. So terrifying and angelic at the same time. Everyone who's interested in the nature of reality should read this book. Sean Esbjorn Hargens, PhD, Dean of the California Institute for Human Science. Yep, that's right. Not a real institute. Like, what do you think of institutes in any way? Maybe it is a real institute, technically speaking, but I'm not sure what kind of job market there will be for you once you graduate from said institute. So that's the description of UFO of God, the extraordinary true story of Chris Bledsoe, which, by the way, is on paperback for $17.96, or you can get the audiobook version for $17.46, or if you got a Kindle, $10. I'm not interested in buying this book whatsoever, but it's funny here that it's got at the very top of, before even the description starts on the Amazon description, the first thing up here is soon to be a major motion picture. These guys do not give a fuck about any real disclosure. They want to sell you books. They want to sell you films, a major motion. I cannot imagine this fucking studio. I guess I should be careful here because I don't want to limit myself to work, but cannot imagine the studio that looked at this and said, holy shit, we've got to make this into a movie. This is a true story. But then again, there are people within our intelligence communities saying, holy shit, we got to spend billions of dollars to look at this because this is a true story. So I guess it doesn't shock me really that much. But it just sucks. It just sucks. It just sucks, man, that people believe this shit and haven't worked one iota to deserving a major motion picture. Like, there's nothing that those people have done in their life that deserves a studio spending millions of dollars to make a fucking movie about their fake life. That's frustrating. As an actor who's been in the biz for 20 years, you work your ass off to make a major motion picture. And you could just make up stories about your Crohn's and arthritis getting healed. And you being able to provide orbs to powerful DC lawmakers, heal their children. Big fucking claims, man. I'm wondering if it's the studio that made like that makes those very progressive Christian themed films. It sounds like maybe one of those studios. We'll see. It's not on his IMDb yet, so unfortunately we don't know, but I'm interested to see which studio picks that up as a major motion picture. Okay, so these UFOs show up as big balls of fire.
And so these UFOs appeared, these big balls of fire. They weren't flying saucers, they were balls of fire. Of course, when they morphed, one did into this tic tac or egg shaped thing. But they took care of my Crohn's disease. I was very sick, and they healed me. And my experience with the phenomena has been on that manner. It's been positive. It's been healing. Every day, I'm getting people every day this week telling me that they've experienced a blessing.
So this is a very heavily religious man. who's now a prophet. He's getting people every day this week telling me that they've experienced the blessing.
3 this week. And you know, it's people I'm involved with. So the phenomenon has always been that positive. It's the people that.
Let me ask you, why you? What about the poor motherfuckers in this country, the people in the ghettos, the people in small towns that are being put on the street because they can't afford a mortgage because their town is essentially dried up from commerce and then nobody lives there anymore, or the farmers that lose their lands? What happens when they scream to the sky and they ask their God, their deity, for help, just like you did, where they let go of their own religion and pray so hard for some solution, and then they don't get it? What are they doing wrong, Chris Bledsoe? Why do you? And what was this blessing that brought you out of this financial burden? What infusion of cash did you get that helped whatever situation you get out of whatever situation you were in? Because clearly it was a financial burden that was stressing you out. Because that's the whole premise, was the 2007 financial collapse. So what happened? You still have a house. You still have a big piece of property. All of your kids have homes. As a matter of fact, your wife has an assistant, which you admit in this. There's a couple little nuggets in here that I think people missed, and we're going to go over them. So let's keep playing.
It's been hard. It's the people, the community, the churches, and other entities that are critical. I mean, you see a light in the sky, they want to kill you. Whoever heard of such? There's something badly wrong here. And
Not to interrupt, but you are very right about that. There are definitely people who have fear of the unknown. And although you have your large group of supporters, especially here in our community and particularly Logan's space, you know, this is a Chris Bledsoe love space, just so that you know. But you know,
Like,
but
yeah, we
like
get
you
it.
said, on the other
We get
hand,
You're not going to ask any tough questions of Chris Bledsoe. We understand. We totally get it. Don't worry. We understand. All right, so I'm going to get on to another clip over here. Let me zoom out on this whole thing. So this one is 4112.
Inexplicable are.
Okay, so yeah, this is where he gets cut off. Okay, yeah, here we go. I think this is what I wanted. Okay, let's start here.
sorry.
Great, thank you. Here's another question from the community from B. She wants to know, Chris, have you had an fMRI done that confirms if you have the genetic caudate-Putamen anomaly that Kit Green and Gary Nolan found in experiencers and remote viewers? Any kind of white matter anomalies in your brain?
I haven't had the MRI, although they want me to do it, but I have given them.
So let me get this straight. The guy who says he's done a whole bunch of science hasn't even had an MRI done on this wonderful brain. Okay. All righty.
About 8 hours of brain study that they definitely.
A whole 8 hours of brain study. 8 hours since 2007, or is it 2006? or is it 2016? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
They have found something there that's in what they told me is the 0.0001% of humanity. So whatever that means.
So whatever that means, they told me I'm the 0.0001% of humanity. So whatever that means.
It's very rare according to them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But
I think that's pretty rare according to anyone.
Supposed to do that.
That's terrific, because Gary Nolan's postdoc is no longer at Harvard. I'm glad that was arranged, Chris. I really am.
I really am, Chris.
It's all coming, but we've done more extensive, brain studies, and what they have now, they have technology that they run these things in algorithms, and it detects a whole lot that the human, that we can't. These computers know how to do it. So a lot more of that'll come out on this new History Channel show coming up. Anytime.
Okay. So all of this wonderful secrets that humanity needs to know, we got to wait for History Channel show. Got it. And you haven't done the MRI that people have been asking you to do? Got it. Why? Oh, you haven't had time in the last 17 fucking years? Okay, got it. Okay, let us continue.
Time now, whenever it airs.
Great. Go ahead, Red Panda. Another one?
Yes, this is from Grant and James. They both were wondering if you could elaborate on who from the Australian Department of Defense you spoke with and like what they were interested in related to your experiences.
Well, I can't say who. I can say we chatted
not.
for several months, and they were calling me, and they were digging into everything they could find out from who I deal with to what it is I'm doing, and every aspect of it. And it's quite okay. I would think that every government would want to know. In fact, every government is studying this, whether they want to tell you that or not. And I have a lot of eyes on me from foreign countries to our own, and so. But I can't.
Just remember, keeping just sort of bookmark, earmark. Remember this idea that he does talk about himself a lot and how they're monitoring him and how it's his brainwaves and how he's 0.000.01%. Of people with disability. Where are the others? There should be at least, I don't know, 30, I think, right? I don't know. What's the math on it? 30 for 300? I don't know. Somewhere around there. Where are the other? The point is there should be more than just Chris Bledsoe. Let's see here. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Just keep track of that.
Can't say who, but yeah, they're very interested. They were interested in the lady. And that's the thing I found out, that nearly everybody is, all of them, from NASA to the Air Force to all these organizations, CIA. It's all about the lady. The Catholic Church.
It's all about the lady.
They become interested, of course, and so did the DOD in Australia.
Okay, so the lady. What's the lady? Who's the lady? Well, here's a little clip, 7-minute clip from the Danny Jones podcast. I've included the link to this clip in the description below. Fair use. We are sharing and educating the public on the clips that we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and allowable by law. But this is the big whopper, I think, in this whole entire story. And I think there's a very easy way to verify whether or not this story is true. And I hope to have the answer to it here in the next few weeks, because, Yeah, I will be emailing this person this week and a few other people about this story. So the name of this clip is Alien Telepathy Stopped an Assassination Attempt on the Pope.
This lady by the name of, she's a research scientist for the government, and her home base is Wake Forest University. I was introduced to her by somebody, and then I've called her back. Long story short, she says, Chris, I'm researching the paranormal. Me and my assistant, Ashley, she said, we're researching the paranormal. And I just got to tell you, she said, I've been on Pilot Mountain in North Carolina. She lived from Winston-Salem. Works at Wake Forest right there in Winston-Salem, right? So she said, I was on Pilot Mountain, or Mount Pilot, like the Andy Griffith show, Mount Pilot, right?
Uh-huh.
She had
Danny Jones has never seen an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. I'd almost bet everything I have on that. I don't think he got that reference whatsoever. But okay.
There's a cabin near there, her home place from way back. And she said that she and Ashley would hike up on Pilot Mountain and sit under the stars and turn on this voice box. They call it a spirit box. I'd never heard of such. But it's a little device about like the size of a cell phone that has this awful noise that comes out of it. It sounds like
static.
Static, yeah, white noise. But it's ticking, tick, 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 like so. And what it's doing is scanning millions of frequencies. And these investigators believe that, and I know now, that disembodied spirits or voices can come through that thing. So she said she was on Pilot Mountain.
So, like the movie?
And it kept saying, Chris, UFO.
So
Chris,
like the movie?
UFO. And it said it over and over several days. She would hear the same thing, Chris, UFO. Even said Hope Mills, which is where we live. So she gets on the phone with MUFON and finds out who is Chris in the UFO. Well, they gave her my number right away. So she comes to the house, and we're out at the burning tree. First, we did about an hour and a half interview in my study, and she had all her equipment running. And then we went, and not to get ahead of myself, but while they did the hour and a half study inside, they got like 60 or 70 voice communications, audible, that was recorded on a recorder, just coming out of thin air. So we go out to the tree and we do this investigation, and I'm just holding this box in one hand, spirit box, with a cord hooked to a digital recorder. So this is recording what this is saying, and you can hear this thing. So she talks me into standing at the burning tree while my wife, her assistant, Pam and Ashley, my wife, and Stephanie.
Now, that assistant could be the assistant to the Wake Forest lady. Maybe that's where the assistant comes in. Maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. I kind of confused that listening to it now the second time around. So the assistant could be Wake Forest. Probably. I'd say that's probably more likely. But okay, so we've got 4 witnesses. You know what? Things are... Oh. Getting a little hiccup in the old internet. Just give it a second, guys. I'm sure it'll load up. So we have that. Sorry, guys. A second.
Morning, everybody.
Whoa.
Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out.
No, Tobin. I don't want any Miami Dolphin information right now. There we go.
Every access into it, and made people walk from the Jersey side across the Ben Franklin Bridge. You had to walk in. You couldn't drive.
Hold on, I think
and they arrested a guy for that. So that's how I met John. And Pam and Ashley, my wife, and Stephanie, my niece. There were 4 ladies standing, 10 feet from me looking at me. I'm leaning against that burning tree, and I'm holding this thing. And we start asking questions. Crazy thing, this thing started talking, and it would answer my question. It would say my name, and 4 or 5 voices would come through it. They recorded 350 audio clips, and she said, I've never seen anything like it. She said, if I went to the Charleston jail to do a ghost hunt, she could take 6 of these recorders and let them run for hours, each one, and they might get 1 voice out of, 40 hours of recording, where we got over 350 recorded clips. But one thing it said, Chris, the Pope is in danger. Help him. You must help the Pope. It was saying this. We got it on recording. And she even made a PowerPoint with all these clips. You can listen to them.
You can listen to them.
online?
No.
Okay. No. No. Nope, they sure aren't. Any of this stuff, no, you can't find it nowhere. No. You can hear it all, though. You can hear it all. Just not anywhere where you normally could get stuff like that. Yeah. It's in a PowerPoint, though. Remember those PowerPoints? Yeah, I love me some PowerPoints.
I've got them.
Okay.
But with all this happening, I knew that the Pope was going to Philadelphia. He had been into Washington and was making his trip to New York City and was going to go to Philadelphia.
Was this Pope Francis?
I think it was Francis, right? When
You
they
think?
were going,
You think it was Francis? You saved his fucking life, and you think it was Pope Francis? It's your story, pal.
he was going to make a speech at the Congress, of the original Congress Hall in Philadelphia. So I call a friend that called me last night, the guy you asked me about who it was that called. I said, I called this guy. I said, hey, Larry, you won't believe this. I said,
Larry,
this lady has, and I'm talking to him right after all this investigation. I said, this thing keeps saying that the Pope's in trouble. He's coming to Philadelphia. He said, you must help him. It was saying this, you can hear it. You must help him. So immediately my friend says, well, maybe you should come to Philadelphia and let's see what we can do about it. So a couple, 3 days later, I'm in Philadelphia, and when I walk in his house, there stands John Alexander. First time I ever met him.
John Alexander.
That's when we started remote viewing the whole first chapter of this book.
Got it. So you contacted someone in the government named Larry, and Larry got you in contact with John Alexander, and the two of you schmucks got together, remote viewed what was going to happen to the Pope. Okay, got it. Continue.
Book. And they actually arrested a guy for trying to blow him up. I even told him he was going to use a bomb.
Oh, did you tell him where?
I saw where the boat ramp beside Ben Franklin Bridge. I drew it all out, and they verified it. And so they got Secret Service involved. And then John calls Joe McMoneagle, and Joe says the same exact thing that I say. And so from that point, they shut down Philadelphia. They closed every access into it. Made people walk from the Jersey side across the Ben Franklin Bridge. You had to walk in. You couldn't drive. And they arrested a guy for that. So that's how I met John.
By the way, the whole walking on the bridge was part of the event. Now, I looked up this event. There's a few articles that talk about this. Okay. One in CatholicPhilly.com. Okay. CatholicPhilly.com says up to 700,000 people were in attendance on the Parkway that day as the concluding mass to the World Meeting of Families of Philadelphia and the first apostolic visit of Pope Francis to the United States was celebrated without incident. Cologne Okay, so in a statement, the United States Department of Justice said Cologne planned between the 30th and the 14th of 2015 to utilize a sniper to shoot out the Pope during the public mass on September 27th, 2015 in the Benjamin Franklin Parkway in Philadelphia. He also planned to set off bombs in the surrounding areas. Cologne, a U.S. citizen and only 15 years old at the time, solicited who he thought would be the sniper in the plot, but who in actuality was an undercover agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Cologne scouted the area of the planned attack and instructed the agent to, quote, to purchase materials to make explosive devices, the Justice Department said in a statement. Cologne was arrested in 2015, 2 weeks before the papal visit, pleading guilty. So he was saying that they shut down the bridge because of this. 2 weeks he got arrested before it. He made it sound like it was happening in real time. And they got this drawing to the FBI right in time to find the bomb on the bridge. Pleading guilty as an adult, he faces a maximum of 15 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Then you've got this here. So this is 6 Action News talking about it. And I was like, this is not giving me a whole lot of details. It's just saying that he basically talked to an undercover FBI agent who was claiming to help him with this terrorist attack, essentially. And that's how they caught this guy. So the best article that I found on it was from the Office of Public Affairs in the U.S. Department of Justice. And this is how we're going to get some answers on this question, on whether or not this claim is true or not. I mean, we already know the answer to this, I think. But this is a great way to confirm that Chris Bledsoe is 100% full of shit when it comes to this claim, at least. And maybe going forward, someone can actually ask him a question about this. So this is titled, New Jersey Resident Pleads Guilty to Attempting to Provide Material Support to Terrorists. Today, Santos Cologne Jr., 17, of Linwold, New Jersey, pleaded guilty as an adult to information charging him with 1 count of attempting to provide material support to terrorists. Acting Assistant Attorney General for National Security, Mary B. McCord, and Acting U.S. Attorney William E. Fitzpatrick made the announcement. The plea was entered before U.S. District Court Judge Noel L. Hillman and Camden Federal Court. According to documents filed in this case and statements made in court, Cologne, a U.S. citizen, admitted that from June 30th, 2015 to August 14, 2015, he devised a plan to conduct an attack during the September 15th papal visit in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This plot involved utilizing snipers to shoot the Pope during his papal mass and set off explosive devices in the surrounding areas. Cologne engaged someone who he believed would be the sniper, but in reality was an undercover FBI employee. Cologne engaged in target reconnaissance with an FBI confidential source and instructed the source to purchase materials to make explosive devices. FBI agents arrested Cologne in 2015. Acting Assistant Attorney General McCord and Acting U.S. Attorney Fitzpatrick credited special agents of the FBI's South Jersey resident agency under the direction of Special Agent in Charge Michael Harpster in Philadelphia. With the ongoing investigation leading to today's guilty plea, Cologne faces a maximum of 15 years in prison with a $250,000 fine or twice the gross amount of any financial gain or loss from the offense. The maximum statutory sentence is prescribed by Congress and is provided here for informational purposes. If convicted of any offense, the sentencing of the defendant will be determined by the court based on the advisory sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. No date has been set for the sentencing. Again, this is April 3rd, 2017. This case is being prosecuted by Attorney in Charge R. Steven Stegall of the Camden Branch Office of the U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of New Jersey, Assisting U.S. Attorney Patrick C. Askin in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey, and Trial Attorney C. Alexandria Bogle of the National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. So the reason why this article is a lot more informative is because now I have the names of the attorneys that are prosecuting this case. So it's not very difficult to get in touch with these attorneys and shoot them a quick email saying, hey, can you verify that the guy in this video is telling the truth about the assassination attempt on the Pope in 2015? Did this guy, Chris Bledsoe, John Alexander, contact the FBI and give him a tip? And that's how this agent got into position? Can you inform it? Because if that's true, I'd like to know. But I have a feeling once I tell him exactly how this person plays into this arrest and this article, I think we're going to find that there is no connection. Because you know what? They don't mention it here at all. There was not even the mention of a tip. Just the idiot ran into an FBI agent. And guys, counterterrorism FBI agents are scouring the web all the time. There are ways for them to get red flags on people, and there are people on lists that they keep track of. And if the situation arises where they can ask an FBI agent to buy them explosives, they're going to take it. And they're going to slap terrorism charges on someone like that because he actually tried to do it. So it'll be interesting to hear from the attorneys on whether or not the FBI just got lucky here, or did they get a tip from a former colonel and a remote viewer that could talk to God and had his Crohn's and diseases cured. So again, there'll be a way to verify that. Give me 1 second here, guys. I got to answer the phone. I'll be right back. All right, you guys, sorry about that. Man, just got some pretty terrible news. Might have to end the show here in a couple minutes. All right. Yeah. I gotta take care of family stuff, guys. Unfortunately, I have to end the show. I was not, obviously this wasn't planned, but things happen. Nobody's hurt. Nobody's you know, in any critical condition as of right this second. But it's just one of those moments where you get some family news and you got to be there to support the family that supports you. So I'm going to end the show early. We'll pick this up on Friday, depending on what's going on. But yeah, it's funny how life works, man. You get blessed with amazing news 1 second, and then the next second, something absolutely unexpected happens. But that's life. You've got to roll with the punches and take it as it comes. Just take it as it comes. And this one is not going to be easy. Yeah, I think we're going to have to pick this up on Friday. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that just threw off the whole vibe. Look, let's end on a positive note, right? And then hopefully that positivity will carry over into other things that are happening. So today I was going to save this for the end of the show, but today I booked a TV show. I booked a TV pilot. It's a really great pilot. It's got some really great actors attached to it. I can't tell you the pilot or the network yet, but it's a big network. It's a big pilot. It looks like it's going to get picked up, but with these things, you never know. It was a really cool audition process. I'll tell you guys that story on Friday as well, because the audition for it was absolutely insane. More information will come out as soon as we film the episode and figure out whether or not the pilot gets picked up. But I've got a part in a show that's reoccurring, so that's super exciting. Like that is a role that you wait and you work your ass off for a long time to get. And what's funny is I went in for a different role, a different actor they picked for that role, but they liked me so much that they want me part of the show in one way or another. So it's got a great opportunity for growth. And the actor that's producing the show is one of my favorite actors out there. He's so damn funny. So I got to audition for him, and that was really cool. But yeah, so that's, again, great things happening, and then other stuff happening that's just personal family stuff that doesn't need to be talked about at all. But yeah. Anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to this show. Sorry we had to end it early. Normally we don't, go ahead and turn this down since we're ending the show, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. My brain's all over the place right now. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say next here. I'm not sure if we're going to have a space this week. But if we do, you'll know about it. If we don't, then we won't. But we should see you guys on Friday, barring anything else. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what the future's going to hold here in the next week or two. Because the news we just got is we might have to shift some things around. So So, damn, man. It's just like, it never, ever, ever, just never could be easy. Life is just unrelenting, man. You guys don't forget to smack that like, share, subscribe button, ring the bell. That way you're notified anytime we do go live. Thank you all so damn much for being here. Sorry I can't shout you out individually. Thank you for helping us raise the bar. Again, apologies for ending the show early. But I'm sure you guys understand. With that said, have a great night. Have the great rest of your week. I love you all. Peace out.